How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. We were just talking, gearing up for Fashion Week soon.
Yeah, it starts in a couple days.
I know, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about inclusivity in fashion, and Tanya has always been so great about extended sizing and doing stuff like that. So I want to talk about where the inspiration came from when you first decided to extend sizing.
Yeah, so I started the brand in 2012. My background was I did an undergraduate degree in finance, and then I moved to New York. I went to Parsons, and I studied design. And at that time, I think I had one employee, and we were moving super quickly. And it wasn't until 2016 that Aidy Bryant from SNL came.
Love her.
Yeah, love her. Funniest lady ever. Approached us to make a red carpet look for her. And she's a size 16. And we had never really realized that, like, she's my age. She and I share this kind of like joy of life. We have a really similar kind of love of color and print. And she's like, we should be, friends. We like emojis, but I can't wear your clothes. And that was a huge wake-up call for us. And we realized that we really needed to restructure the team and rethink how we could offer the collection size 0 through 22. That took a lot of effort. For probably a year, we had to hire a tech team that was really kind of experienced, and we had to hire fit models and really kind of dig into something that didn't exist, because our wholesale retailers at that time weren't offering that in contemporary fashion.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the challenges you faced getting into that, because I think a lot of people don't understand it's not as simple as just sizing up a pattern, right? So what was that experience like for you?
Well, we realized that a lot of women above a size 14 hadn't had access to colorful, fun, feminine fashion before. So we wanted to take our time to make sure that when we did offer that, it fit well, that it was really kind of the exact same styles, the exact same quality as what we offered for size 0 through 14. And that took a lot of time. We had a lot of kind of focus group conversations with women of what they were missing in the market. And then we had to hire a fit model. And so we now fit on a size 4 and a size 18 for every style. And it was kind of a push. It's like calling your retailers and saying, it's worth buying us, and we need to be on the same rack. We're not going to be on a separate floor. And there's a customer for this. So we used a lot of our data from e-commerce to show them that there was a customer and that this could be really successful. And now all of our major department stores carry that.
That's really great, because I feel like a lot of designers talk about the retail partners being the hardest part in terms of getting it into market, because they're reluctant to buy in to that size range.
Yeah, and I think that that's what kind of at the beginning drives your business, because you need to have minimums for cut tickets and be able to build kind of a profitable business around it. And it took about a year, but we've now been doing it for 3 years, and it's unbelievable. It's the most engaged customer we have. And when we launch on e-commerce, like on Friday, we launch spring, and our first styles to sell out are always a size 18. And that's pretty impressive, and we kind of can use that and say to retailers that there's such a demand, and we're kind of like a first adopter in our price point to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to ask what the reaction was from the customer.
Very positive.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Very positive, very vocal. I think a lot of conversations, we ask a lot of questions. So we're always trying to understand more about fit. We're trying to understand more about, ideal price point, quality, stretch versus non-stretch, any details that feel specific to preferences. And we're really open to learning. So I think we have amazing women that we ask to really kind of give feedback, and it's helped us grow.
What was the investment to get this off the ground? Because you're talking about hiring a new team, new fit model, that stuff doesn't come cheap, versus the sort of, I don't want to call it the reward, but the reward that you've seen getting it out to market.
I'd say the initial investment was definitely one really key hire of a great tech designer who had experience. A fit model does cost double the amount of fitting that we would have for a size 4. But the reward has been that it drives about 30% of our e-commerce business, but we only have 15% of inventory right now that represents even extended sizing. So we just have to buy more inventory. Like our demand is kind of outpacing the supply, which is amazing. And it's absolutely become like a really big part of our growth.
How were you reaching that customer, especially when you first launched and they didn't know maybe they could come to you for extended sizing?
We definitely leaned on probably Nordstrom the most for our retail partner, because I think they are so passionate about size inclusivity. And we called them and we were like, make sure that the mannequins are size inclusive, make sure that there's like representation of the brand, that people know that they can come to us for size 0 through 22. And then organically, like a couple like women that are really vocal in the space started wearing us, like Katie Storino. And she just started telling people about like how, it was really different than other brands. And it really grew pretty organically.
I want to ask, because something that I think about a lot and that I've sort of talked about in this space is clearly this is a growing market. It's a huge opportunity. A lot of people are kind of leaving money on the table, not getting into it. But in fashion schools, I feel like at least people that I've spoken to weren't being taught how to even pattern for plus size. Are you seeing that change as you're kind of growing this team? Do you have any feeling for what that's like in the school system? Because I did not go to fashion school.
Definitely when I was at Parsons, there wasn't a consideration over body types. It was very specific to one kind of mannequin and one kind of body type as being the ideal. And the only indication I have that it's changed is a talk that we did for the CFDA about a year ago, and it was for teachers. And there were a ton of teachers there that said now they have pattern making classes for extended sizing. They have mannequins that represent different sizes. And I think that's a lot of progress, because when you're a student, you're a sponge. And like if you can learn the skills to kind of be able to kind of tailor your talent for tech design, then there's more opportunity for brands to be able to hire people.
We were talking about this a little bit backstage in a different context, but something that I find so refreshing about the industry today is that it seems like a new generation of designers, yourself included, are very open and willing to work with each other instead of sort of being this closed off situation. As more people are entering this market, do you find that they're coming to you for advice or help or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've been pretty publicly open to share advice. So a couple months ago on Instagram, we posted like a breakdown of every step we took on how we became size inclusive. And we really opened our doors to say, come to us if you want to know like the financial investment it took, or come to us if you want to know what the job description looked like for that tech designer, like really the specifics, because a lot of people kind of say it's hard and say that it's impossible. And I think that it really takes commitment, and commitment from a founder and from a team. But once you have that, there's clear ways to kind of become inclusive. And I think that we want to be collaborative and really share how we did it, because we didn't know what we were doing at all. So I think there's some mistakes we made.
What would you say, we've talked about kind of how that impacted your business, but personally, what was the most rewarding part of extended sizing for you?
I think probably my mom has always been a size 14, 16. And she was the chairman of a company with 5,000 employees. And I watched her at home have such a joyful personality when she was wearing like her sweatpants, because she was herself and she was at home. And then when she got dressed to go to work, she had nothing to put on. And she'd wear these like long capes and she just covered her body, and she kind of left home a little defeated. And I could just imagine walking into a boardroom, her not feeling her most confident. And I think us being able to have a solution for that and giving women a way to feel like they could express themselves through print and color and happy clothing has been great. Plus, she can now wear everything and is really happy about that. So I think it's just like a full circle of what I saw when I was a child and how I can hope that people maybe have an option with us now.
Now that you're, 3 years in, you said, tell me a little bit about what challenges you're still facing in terms of extended sizing and kind of how you're approaching those.
I think it's an upward battle of wholesale supporting it. But our e-commerce is driving that part of the business. So I feel like we kind of have this independence around extended sizing being like our business, which feels really great. We can think about it as like, what does our marketing look like, our messaging, like our connection to a consumer, and that feels really wonderful. And then I would say just still learning about fit, like it's constantly changing. This is a great example of like what's on the screen. Is we did an open casting call on Instagram, and we got like hundreds of people that submitted their interest in coming in on a Saturday and all wearing a pink Dorothy dress. And what was so crazy is we shot in this small studio in Brooklyn, and I walked in, and you've never it felt like I don't know, it was an overwhelming feeling of like all these women that are all different sizes. There was a mother and two of her daughters who are our former interns, and they all have fascinating professions. And I feel like, although it's not really answering the challenge, but I think this has been like a moment where we get to show the breadth of the collection, and the challenge is like, how do we keep doing that, and how do we make sure that it's at the forefront of like all of our marketing decisions.
I really loved this whole campaign. I followed it really closely. I was like, oh, that's so smart, because you are so engaged with your customer directly, which I feel like is not always the case for designers. Tell me a little bit about why that's important to you.
I like living in reality, and I like learning. I'm not scared of the truth, and I love talking to someone about what they like and what they don't like, because I want the energy of the team to be put towards something that's great and works for people. So I think that getting to know the customer is one of my favorite things. Like I think we're doing 11 cities between April, May, and June. And I'm 5 months pregnant. Yeah. But so I think getting out there and kind of getting in the stores is like how I feel connected. It's one thing to sit in a studio and sketch and paint and create, but like you're creating for someone. And I think that it's really beautiful when you kind of can put the two things together. And that's really where like this Fashion Week, we've kind of rethought how we do it.
Which is very exciting. Stay tuned for that. Have you ever gotten a piece of feedback in these interactions that you've integrated into your design process?
Like always. Yeah. It's almost like, how do you get all the information organized so that people can act on it is really, we get a lot of, our customers very engaged. So they're like calling our office, emailing us with like very personal stories of where they wore us. And I think, with a wrap dress, for example, a lot of people were coming forward and it's like, I want this to have a snap, not a hook and eye. And we're like, okay, we'll make it a snap. And they're like, I want the sleeve to be an inch longer. Okay, we'll do that. And I think that we're really trying to make the best collection possible that addresses women feeling their best.
I want to know if you have like an elevator pitch for designers, because I feel like it's still, size inclusivity is something that, even though there's clearly a market for it, there's clearly a business like opportunity there, people are still reluctant to get into that. So I'm curious if you have like an elevator pitch for it. I think putting you on the spot.
I'm like the worst person at elevator pitches because I'm so verbose. Why not? Be proud of what you create. And to me, the pride should come from noticing everyone around you and feeling that everyone's beautiful. I just think having a narrow vision of what fashion isn't modern.
I love that. I agree with that. I live by that. Well, thank you guys so much, and I hope you'll join me in thanking Tanya for being here today.